Hello, my name is Isabella Meza. I am a current RA reapplying for the RA position. On the first question on how I might approach someone who may not be doing their part in a group work, I have worked with other RAs previously, whether it's on something simple like helping each other decorate their floors or working an event together, and just from those events, you get the feel of a culture of helping one another, and it's a really warm community among RAs. And for this reason, I feel like I would be really comfortable in approaching that person and just checking in to see how that person may be doing, because being a student alone can be really difficult, and adding the role of an RA on top of that can be really taxing at times. So just checking to see how that person may be doing and how they may be feeling. But once that's out of the way, I would ask if there was any way in which I could support them, not only for their benefit, but also the benefit of the team, and how we can proceed with finishing the next steps. This is really important because I know that at some point or another I might be needing help, and it's really important to me to help uphold that culture of helping one another among RAs. And more often than not, people are gonna take the help. So I think that's really important. It's just reaching out in general. For the second question on how I would approach a conversation about conflict, the first week of being a first year can be the most terrifying moment. You're meeting all these new people. You're meeting your randomly assigned roommates. And that was the case for one of my residents. Within 3 days of living with her randomly assigned roommates, she was already asking for a room change. And because she told me she wasn't in any type of danger, there was nothing that could be done. Room changes aren't allowed until like a month and a half later, so that's not how I wanted to approach the situation. So we started with the first in-person conversation, first letting her vent about how she's feeling, getting those anxious, angry feelings out of the way, so then we could proceed into something more productive, like finding solutions and how she can approach her roommates, practicing those different types of conversations. I let her know that most of the issues that she was having were issues that would be resolved through a facilitated roommate agreement, like establishing boundaries on bedtime and when the room should be quiet, and how you would ask for alone time in the room. And with those things, she was able to calm down, and there hasn't been any issues since, which really goes to show how powerful it is to have these open, honest conversations, but also to empower residents to speak up for their boundaries, because that alone can be a really scary thing. So yeah, I think just having that open, relaxed conversation just helps a lot with those conflicts. Okay, for the third question on how I would approach a student who might be feeling lonely or depressed, I would start with sharing my own experience. I myself had a really difficult time adjusting during my first year. I didn't really see myself reflected on campus, and I had a difficult time making friends, and for this reason, I know that I would have liked to also know that I'm not alone, because I think oftentimes people come into college expecting this crazy party life experience, and that's really not the case for all people, and it wasn't the case for me, and it might not be for this student. So letting them know that they're not alone in what they're feeling, but then also finding out why they might be feeling this way, and letting them assess their own things and how they might be feeling, but then also connecting them to CAPS, because there's only so much counseling that I can do than a rather professional could. So connecting them to CAPS would be really important, but also suggesting ways they can get involved on campus, different organizations that might reflect their interests or their identities, as well as physical activity, simple walks can help the mental health a lot. I know it helps me. So that's also really important. And among all of this, I'd also let them know that I'm a private, not confidential resource. So while I may not share their issues with their other their residents, I would let my CRE know what's going on, just so that there's prior knowledge of this person and what they've been feeling, just in case of an emergency or anything like that. And also my CRE would be able to help me in approaching this conflict as well. And it might be another person to talk to for this resident if they're not so comfortable with me. So that's another resource that I would rely on and that they could rely on as well. And for the fourth question on how I would connect to people who may not have the same interests as me, UCSC is really diverse in not only where people would come from, but also different personalities. And I think that's something that should really be celebrated. But it also means that it's more often than not that people are going to have completely different interests than me. And for that reason, I love to just, regardless of the resident, to just ask and listen and educate myself about their interest and how it might be reflected on campus, finding out different organizations that might appeal to them, or different classes that might be going on in that quarter. I also like to update the bulletin board on those interests. I have a room of residents where they're really big into cycling, and that's very much not my thing. And because of that, and then it's also a group of boys, so I may not connect to them very well on one-on-ones, and they may feel a little like off from me. I choose to reach out in the form of updating the bulletin board with resources and posters such as like Slug Bike Life and TAPS and things that might appeal to them, so that way they feel seen and heard by me, even if they may not feel as comfortable having a conversation with me and letting me how their day may be going that I might have with other residents. And for the fifth question on social justice and equity, being a Mexican American myself in a predominantly white institution, I also began to wonder if I had a place on campus, and that's why I really know how important it is to be seen and have a space. And for that reason, I love to update my bulletin board with different organizations, events, or once again, different courses that might be appealing to all types of people, whether it's Latinas like myself, Black, Indigenous, LGBTQIA+, or students with disabilities, so they know all the resources that are available to them. And that way they feel seen. And I think having that bulletin board that just screams like you're welcome here, it overall helps create like a welcome and open community among the residents themselves, which is really important since those are the people that they're going to be interacting with daily. Yeah. So, thank you.